Hi there, Leo. Welcome to your end of May 2025 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. I laid out these cards. They were really nice cards, but I said Cancer, and I'd already done Cancer, so I felt, I better just do it over. Oh, we end on your card. That's wonderful. Now, the phrase stuck energy came into my mind, so I'm just going to let, if that means anything to anyone, because the Eight of Wands is kind of the release from that. And we're talking about the last half of the month when we have the sun going into a new sign. So the sun is going into Gemini, and that for you is the 11th house, and that's actually very social and very altruistic and what else would I call it? Like very, very into the humanitarian side of life and groups, because it's Aquarius, your opposite sign. And then we have Saturn changing signs into Aries. So we had Neptune in, when was that? The end of March, and now we have Saturn in May. And it's a fellow fire sign. So that will trine you. That will be a much nicer type of angle, cooperative angle for you. And that's going to come from the ninth house, which is the house of Sagittarius, expansion of all different kinds, whether it is the mind, the higher mind, education, and but for some it can be like a university level, but for others it might be something like some spiritual studies. That could definitely be. And with Saturn, we're looking at disciplines too that you may be undergoing. So what I think of typically of somebody who's watching astrology would be something either with shamanism or with yoga. Like if you're studying to be a yoga teacher and you're going through all of that yourself, and the disciplines that go along with it. And the other thing too is just traveling, but it might be more for business and pleasure, or maybe you're able to work remotely where your career, I mean, I suppose it could be anybody getting transferred to another country or asking to be transferred to another country, but also, building a business abroad. That could also be what's going on. So yeah, that's quite a lot in just that short period of time. So keep that in mind as well. The heart of the matter is the Queen of Cups. This is a card that's more intuitive. Now, when I mentioned a planet like Saturn, I'm talking about something that's more about structure and discipline, and this is more about intuition and creativity and nurturing. So I just want to let you know there's work going on next door, so hopefully you won't hear it too badly, but sorry about that if you do. So yeah, like I was saying, Queen of Cups can be something that is very psychic, like a person who is very psychic. And but the issue of motherhood might be coming up for some people. And in the past position, we have the Eight of Swords, which is a card of feeling oppression, feeling like you can't move forward for some reason. And really, You might be doing it to yourself because you're allowing old tapes to kind of play, and these are not necessarily anything that are true. It's something that is very oppressive, but it might have been projected onto you, and you just kind of allowed it to be part of your self concept. It's funny because I think of Leo people. You can be very confident in some areas of life, maybe career wise or something like that, and then in your private life, you're very insecure sometimes. Not all the times, but sometimes perhaps. And so that could be, an example would be somebody who's creative, because Leo rules the house of creativity, the fifth house. So it isn't uncommon for Leo people to be talented in one way or the other in that area, but it's not necessarily a given that you're going to kind of really concentrate on that in your life, because you may feel like you have to make more money or something like that, because Leo's really, let's face it, a lot of Leo people like to live large. So if something doesn't seem like it's promising, financially, chances are you may go in a different direction, but it really can sometimes be a point in your life. And I think that's what the Eight of Swords represents, where you feel like trapped. And I feel like when people are creative and they're not expressing their creativity, that it can create a lot of neurotic tendencies even. So even if it's something that you were to do in terms of hobbies, whatever in your off hours, not necessarily what you're doing to make a living, um, you may feel like, I have to honor this. I can't go on anymore not honoring it. The higher message is the Page of Cups, and this is a card of trusting, being like a child. This could actually be a child energy connected to that. So if you have been thinking about having a child and you're not sure if you would be a good parent, the Page of Cups is kind of like not focusing on the past. Like if you grew up in an environment that was kind of negative, like a negative family environment, and you're a little bit leery of having a child, definitely people should think twice about having children. But sometimes people really feel that they're called to do it, and yet they are afraid because of what happened to them, and so on and so forth. But this is also, I think this reading is also about people who find themselves in a relationship that may be either very nurturing to them, but they might be a little bit, I would even say paranoid. Like when I read the Queen of Cups, especially since it's in the upright position, it would be a little bit cynical to kind of inject negativity into that. But I will say that the Queen of Cups, to me, is like the minor arcana version of the High Priestess. And so even when the High Priestess is in the upright position, it can be that the person, kind of like the Moon card, where the person is, they might not know everything that's going on around them. And they have to tune into their own intuition about something. And the Eight of Swords, to me, is like somebody who has dealt with, like if we're talking about relationship issues, has dealt with, maybe you've dealt with somebody cheating or somebody not being that into the relationship as you are, and you feel, or feeling like it's a one-dimensional relationship and it's not really what you're looking for. And the issue, because really, I mean, this is the card that crosses you, the issue of betrayal, which is what the Ten of Swords can represent, can be so fresh in your memory, and you can hold on to it that you could not, you could sabotage or not nurture a healthy relationship, or um, perhaps stay in a negative relationship because you don't want to be alone. And actually, the Page of Cups is, to me, in that sense, would be, you can't, how can you bring new love into your life if you're caught up in something that is of a negative variety? And the Eight of Swords is like, it's negative, but you can't break out of it. And the same with the Ten of Swords. You can't break out of it because you're too attached to, maybe it's even the ego. Like, I've already been divorced and now this relationship is ending, and people are going to think that I can't hold on to a relationship, even though it's the other person who is really kind of rejecting the relationship. But it's that feeling of needing to keep up appearances, or make it seem like you're not somebody who doesn't have success in relationships, or even just admitting to yourself that that's true and feeling stuck because of it. Also, with a Ten of Swords can be the end of a cycle, of a negative cycle. But how can you have the end of a negative cycle if you refuse to end that negativity, if you're holding on to it? Leo is a fixed sign, so it tends to want consistency, even if it's negative consistency. That saying, the devil really comes up. And this is what I'm talking about. When I was talking about stuck energy, the Eight of Wands is what's coming in. This is the energy of, and this is true, I think, for all of us, because we're entering this phase. Remember that Mars was in your sign for so long and retrograding in your sign, retrograding in the 12th house, and really kind of going over old ground. And now, I don't know exactly when it's going to change into, I forget when it changes into Virgo, and probably is in June, but it's progressing, past the retrograde. So all of these planets, I think it's going to be maybe today or tomorrow when it's fully, like, I'm recording this on the 16th, where we're fully moving forward, and we're going to have like at least a window, probably of at least 6 or 8 weeks, where these matters that we have maybe felt we had our hands tied, we're able to make more progress in shorter amounts of time. So it's really about, if there's any kind of complacency or feeling like you're not, things are not going as quickly as you'd like. Now things will start to speed up in the last half of the month, and the outcome is the Strength card, and this is kind of rebuilding. I think I read this in one of the books, that it was like, rebuilding your strength, or like it gave the impression that the person had been under duress or some kind of like stressful period, and now they are coming back into their own. And actually, coming back into your own, it's actually your card and your sign. It's connected to your sign. So that makes it even more a message for Leo, that you're going to, anything that has been lost or has felt not as able to flow properly, or you felt like things had just been kind of inching along. Now you should start to feel more like yourself, more like the fire energy coming in. And maybe that Saturn and Aries is kind of the the initiation of that, catalyst for that. Okay, Leo, that's what I have for you. If you would like a private reading, I'm primarily an astrologer, but I also do tarot, and I have combination readings that are package deals and specially priced. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for watching. Bye.